Hello everyone, welcome back to Art with 100 Hues, and in today's video I'm going to show you the basics of Procreate. Let's go. The first thing I'm going to explain to you are layers. So the layers are the two squares up here at the top. When you click on them, it opens a menu and you can see all of these. You can add more. Depending on the canvas size, you can add different amounts, but you shouldn't have to worry about that, and merge them and so on and so forth. You can also change the background color here to whatever color you want. You can experiment with that. Put it back white though, please. There we go. Yeah, so I'm going to explain the layers as simply as I can to you. But they're a pretty simple concept. So layers, as the name suggests, are really the layers of the drawing. So, for example, I have this, just black patch right here, okay? So, if you go to the layers and add a new layer, I'm gonna use another color to represent this. We're gonna do a heart, okay? This is on a new layer, as you can see. And this layer is on top of this one. Now if I take it and I drag it underneath, it's gone. And that is because the black blotch is on top of the red heart. So if I turn this off by clicking the checkbox right here, you can still see the heart. The heart is there. It's just the black that's covering it. So think of it as like a canvas, right? And you draw something with paint, but then you mess up, and then you paint with white, you paint over it. You can't see it anymore, and that's because the white paint is covering it, right? So that's pretty much just layers, as you can see. Now, again, same goes for if I add another layer. I want to use this glue. It goes on top, right? I can drag it down, and this time it's underneath the red heart, so you can see all three. If I drag it down underneath the black, you can only see the parts that the black doesn't cover, and it's because the black is on top. I hope that makes sense. The next thing I'm going to show you is the selection and the arrow tool. So those are this and that right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a heart with other shapes, right? So first, if you click on the arrow tool, now you can move them around the canvas. You can use snapping to basically put it in the middle, or just at a perfect space, it'll snap, as the name suggests, snap into the perfect place that it predicts that you want to put it in, right? And that's pretty much just the arrow tool. You can also do distort, which you can smush it. Basically, you can do a bunch of stuff with this. Okay, you can warp. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the last one. You can mess it up even more. It's fun to experiment with. Sometimes you can also change the mesh and stuff, but if you wanted that. And freeform is pretty much just a little bit of everything, right? But that's pretty much just the arrow tool. Now, if we go to the selection tool, there's a lot of things that you can do with this. So I like to use freehand, and it can be used to select one item, like this. So now, one thing that you could do is you could just draw only in the selected shape, okay? Like that. You could also only erase in the selected shape, right? That's something you could do. You could also go to the arrow tool and only move the heart, or only distort the heart, or whatever. Another thing you can do with this is, add, remove, invert. So now pretty much everything that I just showed you, but opposite. So move everything but the heart, right? There's a lot of things that you can do with this. It's pretty simple. color fill, right? Fill it with the color that you already have, and you just filled the selected area, if that makes sense. It's pretty much just experiment, right? So yeah, that's pretty much just that, and that's most of the time all that you have to use in Procreate, and that's just as far as we're going. We're not going to dig that much deeper. Often a beginner's struggle is blending and smudging and all of that. So as you're a beginner or just downloaded Procreate, you most likely want to draw something that ends with blur. You want to have shadow, you want to have whatever it may be, but at some point you want to experiment with that. And most of the time what I see beginners using is I see them using the smudge tool, which can be useful, right? But it ends up in this, right? It can be very useful. It kind of looks like watercolor now. You can use it for specific art styles, but most of the time, what beginners want to achieve is not this. No matter how hard they try, I find that they can't really get that result that they're looking for. And I was one of those. I'm not only talking about other people, I'm also talking about myself when I was a beginner. So what I like doing is I like going to the wand up here and using Gaussian Blur. Some people pronounce it Gaussian Blur. I don't know my pronunciations. I'm sorry. I cannot help you with pronouncing things. But yeah, so we're just going to slide it, and then you have that blur effect that you might be looking for. You can experiment with this. And it may be hard to envision when you're with these shapes. So I'm going to show you another example. So this is a good example of something that I definitely wanted to achieve when I was a beginner and first started Procreate. So go to the wand and back to Gaussian Blur, that's how I pronounce it, and just blur that out. And there you have that 3-dimensional look. And that's how simple that was. Just for comparison, I'm going to show you the smudge tool. So now it's gone. They definitely require skill. So there we go. Like that, and then the bottom. So you kind of have that. You have to clean it up a little around the edges. It requires skill. And I'm trying to make it look good, but it looks just blotchy. And again, you can use it for different styles, but most of the time, what I remember from being a beginner, I wanted to have that look that I achieved with Gaussian Blur easily in seconds. Now I'm going to go through the brush libraries or options. So when you go to the brushes, you have all of these brushes in different categories, right? Pretty self-explanatory, hopefully. You can go in all of these, and you have different brushes in every single one, and you can add more technically, but that's something that I won't be showing you how to do. But here's the thing. With the smudge tool and eraser, you can click on those and have the exact same options. So I'm going to show you with the eraser how this can be used. So first I'm going to make this, I'm going to make you a reference. Okay. I'm going to go to the eraser, and then I'm going to use this one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Right? And you have that. It's very big, but you have that kind of eraser, okay? So it's erasing. It's not white, it's erasing. And you can change it. So you can, do this one. And again, it's erasing. If you take the white off, you can tell it's gone, okay? So you can experiment with this. This is fun. It's basically reverse painting. Instead of painting, it's just erasing. This one is kind of fun. I found that this one's kind of pretty. It would make really good earrings. But yeah, you can do that. Now I'm gonna go over here to the toolbar. So over here you have this slider, a square, and 2 arrows. And yours is probably going to be on the other side. I have the left hand presets. I think it's actually called right hand presets, but for me it's easier as a lefty. So I have that on. So it's most likely going to be on this side for you, unless you have changed it already or you have a different version or whatever. But wherever it may be for you, you're going to have this unless you are in full screen, which is achieved by taking 4 fingers and pressing them on the screen. But that is not the point. So this controls the size of your brush. So right now I have this size, and I'm going to take the first slider and slide it all the way up. Now it's larger. All the way down, smaller. Pretty simple to understand, right? But the other one, let me just size it up again, is opacity. So you might have heard of opacity. Some of you haven't, and it took me a while to understand when I first started using Procreate or any kind of digital art program. I actually started on, I think it was called Sketchbook. I think that's what it's called. But we have this with it. This is 100% opacity. Now, if you take the second slider and you slide it down, you're gonna notice that the color is much lighter, and that's opacity. It's less vivid and less like full of color. So that's why it's not 100%. So that's why if you go over it, it gets darker, because it's basically adding that, if that makes sense. It's adding on top. So the way I like to explain this or think of it is, I like to think of this as watercolor, the watercolor and water ratio, if that makes sense. So 100% opacity is just a bunch of watercolor and a little bit of water, like on a canvas when you're drawing with watercolor. And if you're going like 50% opacity or like this, it's a lot of water and little bit watercolor. That color is going to be lighter than the first ratio that I explained, right? I don't know if that's making sense to you. That's the way I think of it. And sometimes it's hard for me to put those thoughts out, because it's just my already given thoughts, like already given like understanding of opacity. So I'm hoping that kind of works to explain that to you guys. But yeah. The square is the color picking tool. So right there, white. If you click on the square again and you put it on the thing right there, hold on. Yeah, put it on black. It changes the color to black. Right, so we have more. We could even change it to gray. Right there, change it to gray. It's just a color picking tool. I hope that doesn't need too much explanation. Yeah. If you have an artwork that you would like to save, like save to your camera roll, send to somebody or whatever, I wanted to do this several times, but I just ended up screenshotting, and most of the time you might get like that little thin line of gray or whatever it may be, and there's a much easier way to do this. So you're gonna go to the wrench up here and then click share. So then we're gonna go PNG, make sure that's under share image, it's the first one. And then once you go down, save image. Now it's in your camera roll. And that's gonna be all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope my explanations made sense to you. Sometimes it is hard for me to explain the basic stuff because it already makes sense to me, and I have to put that into words. But yeah, I hope it made sense to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and hopefully see you next Sunday. Have an amazing day. Bye!